Hi everyone, my name is Morgan and I work at Keep Norfolk Beautiful, and this is an Enviroscape. This model demonstrates the difference between a modern landfill and an old-style landfill and their effect on water quality. It shows how modern landfills can protect groundwater, wildlife, and residents. Before I demonstrate their operation, let me point out some key features of this model. This section here is the old landfill style. It essentially is just a dirt pit. This section here is the modern landfill and has 4 distinct layers. Over here we have a private well, such as one that someone might use for their home. And over here we have a monitoring well to monitor the water quality of this modern landfill. So like I said, this modern landfill has 4 distinct layers. We have what this model calls fill trays. This is where the trash, represented by sponges, sits. And then underneath these 2 trays are 2 more trays called leachate collection trays. And this is not just for this model, this is for real landfills as well. They have leachate collection systems. So modern landfill design also takes into account how close the landfill might be to groundwater or an aquifer. Impermeable layers are put underneath the landfill along with other materials like sand and rock as backup. Leachate collection uses pumps that take the liquid out of the landfill and into an above-ground leachate tank. In some cases, it is reused or sent to a waste treatment facility to be cleaned before it is put back into our waterways. Over here, like I said, is a leachate collection tank, and there are 2 ditches also along this landfill that are representative of stormwater drainage ditches. Okay, so let's begin looking at how waste management, stormwater, and even utilities all fit together. In the 2 fill trays, there are sponges representing trash, and on those sponges I have sprinkled some red drink mix, which would represent chemicals, bacteria, and dirt, and other things that might leach out of the trash. So let's take a moment and talk about leachate. Leachate is a byproduct of decomposition and breakdown of landfill materials. It could be organic or inorganic materials. Water is a key component of decomposition, which is why it is allowed or purposely introduced into a landfill. It is also why some landfill management includes reusing leachate, especially since it already has the bacteria and organisms that aid in breaking down the landfill material. Okay, so going back to our modern landfill, sponges representing trash, red drink mix on top, sprinkled over it to represent dirt, bacteria, germs, chemicals, anything that might be in a landfill. So I'm going to use my watering can to speed up this process of the water soaking through the sponges and carrying everything down. And as it goes through, like I said, I'm using kind of a lot of water, so we'll say this represents a heavy rainfall. And you'll see it, if you can, that it is actually, maybe I'll use a little bit more water to get it really full. It's actually going to start collecting in this first leachate collection tray. Again, the red water represents all that nasty stuff that would come off trash in a landfill. And as you can see, all the water is staying in this tray. It is not making its way down to the very last level of leachate collection. The very bottom tray is a backup, and not just for this model, but in real landfills as well. Modern landfills are designed to protect groundwater, aquifers, wildlife, and us. Like I said before, the leachate collection systems use pumps to remove the leachate from the landfill. So I'm going to take my little leachate collector here, and this is representative of our pump, and pull some of that leachate out and put it over here. So this is just representing the collection of that leachate. But maybe instead of putting it all over there, I'm just going to put it back over here to try and decompose, or I should say speed up the decomposition process and basically turn this landfill into a huge bioreactor. So now we're going to look at our old landfill style. It wasn't so long ago that landfills were just pits in the ground. This is actually also how the Romans dealt with waste. Yes, even in Roman times, they had regulations for municipal waste, including how far away from the city it needed to be. So landfill engineering and those codes and regulations, the idea of municipal waste and proper disposal have been around for a long time. Anyways, as you can see, we have an open pit with some trash in it. Again, the sponges representing the trash, and I've sprinkled the red drink mix on top to represent the dirt, bacteria, and chemicals, etc. that can get carried off or are leached from landfill materials. So now for this one, I will make it rain, but I am going to use my spray bottle this time for this demonstration. But of course this time there is nothing protecting the groundwater from the leachate. If this pollution could be contained, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem. But leachate getting into groundwater can spread more and more as more and more leachate or pollution gets introduced into the groundwater. Over here is my private well. Let's say my house is over here and this is my private well since I don't get municipal water. So we're going to check the water quality over here. Alright, so let's check that water quality. Alright, so as you can see, that water is kind of pink. So the pollution got into the groundwater and at some point it infiltrated my well and contaminated my water. As I said before, leachate from the landfill is taken out no matter what. And sometimes it is sent to a water treatment plant to be cleaned before it's put back into our waterways. So that's one way that landfills, waste management, and utilities or our water treatment is all connected. So the last part of this is what happens when these landfills are closed. So we're going to take a look at our old landfill style first and see what happens when it gets capped. So as you can see, this is my underground water storage tank. And right here is our old style of landfill. Just, like I said, basically just a dirt pit. The old style of landfill is capped by putting layers of dirt and grasses and other plants on top. I have this section of felt that I'll lay on top and use a spray bottle to make it rain. Although the process in real life would be slower, dirt and plants or grasses aren't going to stop the water from getting in, which means there is a leachate, and that leachate will get into the groundwater because there is no barrier mechanism. So let's see if I can speed this up a little bit to show you how eventually the water would get in. I think because now I have it capped, so you might be able to see some of the water going into my groundwater. So that is what happens to the old landfill styles, that there's no barrier between it and our groundwater, and even the capping method wasn't impermeable. So there was always going to be leachate in the landfill and then also draining out into our groundwater. Modern landfills use impermeable covers, so I will use this plastic sheet. Of course, the impermeable layer that would be put over an actual landfill would fit snugly, but I'll use this to demonstrate as best as I can. So this is where this ditch over here really comes into play. So this is our impermeable cap, and I'm going to make it rain. So as you can see, for the most part, this is running right off into our storm drain ditch, and we've got these felt pieces representing vegetation that might exist in a storm drain ditch. So this is one example of an impermeable cap. Another example is a material similar to this. It is hard and almost rigid plastic that they would use to put over there. And again, it's an impermeable cover that's going to keep, I would say, most of the water out. Some water may get in, but what this is going to do is help reduce the amount of leachate. After the landfill is capped, it's still going to produce leachate, but by not allowing as much water to get in, they reduce the amount of leachate that would accumulate in here over time. So another product of landfills is the gas that's created by bacteria breaking down the materials that are inside the landfill. Landfill gases generally comprise of about 50% carbon dioxide and 50% methane gas. Methane is super combustible, and carbon dioxide is combustible as well. Without proper ventilation, these gases could cause landfill fires and explosions. I think everyone in this area knows about Mount Trashmore and has probably been there as well, and you may have seen a flagpole there. So this is no ordinary flagpole. Of course, you know, it's a flagpole, it's got a flag on it, it looks very nice. But this flagpole at Mount Trashmore is extremely necessary and a creative way to vent the gases. The flagpole is hollow, so it allows those gases to escape. Another option for landfills to use to deal with the methane coming out of their landfill is to actually capture it. They can use it to power their own operations, or they can sell it. A third way that some landfills might deal with the methane gas is to actually have a methane flare. So it wouldn't be like a flagpole sticking out of a big hill that is a capped landfill like Mount Trashmore. A methane flare would probably be located somewhere else where people can't really get to it. But basically, it is the ventilation tube or pipe for that methane gas, and they spark a flame at the end of it, so the methane just burns off as it comes out. Of course, modern landfills don't just put a plastic cap or an impermeable cap on their landfill. They also will cover it with grasses, trees, plants to help stabilize that new hill. They might be turned into parks or golf courses. For instance, Mountain Trashmore is a landfill, and it is now a park that is very well used. So although landfills are often met with disgust, they are absolutely essential to our health. And now, thanks to modern landfill design, they are also essential to our environment's health. But we must remember that waste reduction is needed to lighten the load on modern landfills. We often don't think about the journey our trash has taken, before it got to us and after we discard it. And I hope this model could help bring that story to life. Although landfill design is much more intricate than what I could discuss here or even be able to demonstrate very well. And of course, this isn't the only path our trash can take.